The concrete porch was cool to my bare feet. The humidity warped door screeched in its frame as it closed behind me. I let out a breath after I winced at the sound rivaling chalkboard scrapes. The oppressive heat of the day was finally breaking. Like a heated knife through butter, a cold front cut the smooth heaviness weighing against my arm hairs. The wall of clouds carried by the cold had blotted out the sky, but not the sun. Instead, I looked across a warm horizon. Cool grays and bluish-white cloud cover were secondary to the yellow of the air. Heavy humidity might be the harbinger of supercells, but a true sign of the time was the saturation of the air itself. The evening sunlight filtered through the atmosphere, and water vapor changed the saturation of the scene. The storm front became surreal as much as it was serene. I had stepped out to join the collective release of held breaths, only to find the pressure of my chest had increased. My shoulder found support on the wooden beam holding up the eaves. Peeling teal paint fluttered at my impact against the pillar. My eyes lost their dual image, both the foreground and the background separating and sequentially finding their focus. A single black dot in the downspot, dangling from the corner of the roof of my house, was my eye's savior. A beautiful bokeh effect, only possible as the weight of a week collapsed my lungs. There, amidst solemn white painted metal, was a jumping spider. She wouldn't have stood out if my mind hadn't decided that the parallax effect was too much for a stretched-thin imagination. Instead of the storm, I admired the spider. Balled up and clearly concentrated for the future she could not comprehend. The scale of her world met mine, and my mind blanked. My eyes flickered to the single drops that wet my skin with comfort, and then to her, imagining the cratering impacts next to her. The tones of hollow painted metal being beaten by virgin raindrops were not celestial tears, but heavenly artillery. Yet for me, each arrhythmic pulse was a soothing symphony I had sought. The sound of a slow storm approaching was a solace apparent, a moment to leave the struggles stretched across me. But for her, the struggles were just beginning. A silent gasp escaped my lips as one of the metal tangs made her disappear. Immediately I stepped off the cube of concrete, my knees buckled as the grass tickled my arches. My eyes scanned the ground beneath the spout, desperation for the parasocial connection my depression had formed. Right, left, then right, only to pause as my sightline cut to see a black spot on the turned-out spout. She had survived. She was at the bottom, but she hadn't been washed away. My hand covered my mouth as warmer water traced my face's curves. She shook herself off, the beads of water shining on her body hairs. I looked up from my kneeled position next to her, the expanse of stormy sky dominated by a staircase to heaven made by a waterspout. Vertical, soon to be soaked, but at the top would be safety in the crook of the eaves. I shook my head with despair. Thunder rumbled, reminding us both of what was to come. Despite the threat, the spider began to climb again, and I found my solace in her choice.